It's a beautiful day here in Wisconsin. In fact, you may hear the neighbor's lawnmower going as I record the devotional today. But I have a few minutes and I want to take the time to share with you some more truths about God's Word, from God's Word, and how we need to be resting in who He is in these uncertain times. We've been talking about how we need to know God. We talked a couple videos ago about how God is, and you and I need to strive to know Him better. Then last time we talked about what God can do. We said that God can, and we must trust Him without reservation. Today I want us to think about the third of those three things, and that is that God will. And the sentence that goes with that is that I must rest in His unfailing promises. So the section in my book, More Than These, with this third one is a little bit longer. So I'm just going to go ahead and start to read it for you. It'll first give us a bridge to this third one from where we talked last time. So listen as I read. The bridge between God can and the next step, God will, is the knowledge that God can do all things for us. We do not question His power or character, but we sometimes question His love. We recognize His goodness and power, but we don't believe that He loves us enough to display it for us personally. What good news it is to realize that God not only is who He is and can do what His Word declares, but He will do it for you and me. Because of His great love, we who are so unworthy can know His power in our hearts and lives. That marvelous fact leads us then to truth number 3. God will, I must rest in His unfailing promises. Jeremiah 33:3. Call unto me, and I will answer thee, and show thee great and mighty things which thou knowest not. We need to believe that God will. It's not enough for us to have a knowledge of God and His working within the pages of His Word. We must realize that the promises of His Word are for us. Who He declares Himself to be is exactly who He wants to be for us. The powerful promises He decrees are promises for us to claim. His promises are not empty words, but unfailing pledges given to all who call Him Lord. When we understand who He is, what He can do, and what He will do, we cannot help but rest in Him. How many times do we miss the blessing of seeing God work because we fail to rest in His promises? We assume He needs our help in solving the circumstances of the moment. We worry and fret until we arrive at a plan that we can carry out without relying on God to show Himself strong. Again, Jeremiah 33:3 says, Call unto me, and I will answer thee, and show thee great and mighty things which thou knowest not. This verse clearly commands us to call on God and undeniably promises that He will not only hear, but will answer in a great and mighty way. Too often our response to God may be, why? Why me? Why now? We focus on explanations and not on the promises. If we believe that God will be true to His Word and will answer us when we bring our needs before Him, we will focus on the promises and not need the explanations. Are you resting in the promises of God's Word? When we love God more than our fears, we rest confidently in His working. That confidence frees us to accept God's answers and methods. We must be in the Word to know God's promises. Sometimes people expect God to do what He never promised to do. Let's consider an example to help clarify. God has the power to heal any disease, but God does not promise to always heal. However, God definitely promises His grace, His comfort, and His presence in times of sickness and even death. We can rest in His promises no matter the circumstances. These three truths must be our foundation. We need to see every page of God's Word teaching us who He is, what He can do, and what He will do. We need to rest in these truths and share them with others through our words and actions. This, dear friend, is the hope that people around us need. When dark days come, these truths will sustain us. When we fear, and when the fear and uncertainty overwhelm us, our loved ones, our neighbors, we all need these truths to meet the need. Why? God alone is the answer to all our fears. I hope these words will be an encouragement to you today. In the next video, we're going to talk specifically about how to read God's Word and how to look for these things on the pages of His Word. May you be able to trust Him and rest in Him and know Him in a precious way these days ahead. Share it with a friend.